So here we are at the end of week 3 of the Google Media MOOC. Now, normally, as regular viewers of this will know, I'm normally chatting with a lady called Elizabeth, but unfortunately Elizabeth is unable to attend this week. So I thought, well, I could do one of two things. I could either not do the Hangout, or I could do the Hangout but broadcast a monologue. And I thought that was probably quite a worthwhile idea because it helps me to keep in the routine of what I've been up to, and also helps to keep me honest in terms of my MOOC completion. So probably a fairly short hangout this week. For me, the key thing this week really hasn't been the content as such. It's not been anything, there's been no light bulb moments or anything like that, although I have to say some of the content this week around Google and advertising has been quite enlightening to look at. It's quite interesting to see that in 2012, Google's audited revenue or turnover exceeded all of the US newspaper industry's annual turnover for the same year. So that was quite revealing. But for me, the big takeaway this week has been the actual construction of the MOOC itself within Coursera. This week is the first week where we've been able to see, I guess what you could say, the full cycle of the peer-reviewed assignments. Every week to date, there's been a simple quiz, 5, maybe 10 questions, usually multiple choice, single or multiple answers, and you answer them and you get feedback and they feed into your overall score. And it's useful. I guess it's an engagement piece. In the big scheme of things, it's nothing more than a short-term knowledge check. But if it helps to hook people into trying to do better in the assignments, then I'm cool with that. What we did witness at the end of week 2, though, and it's come to completion at the end of week 3, is being asked to undertake an assignment. And I think I had 250 or 260 words to complete an assignment that basically gave my opinion on Google Books. Was it a good thing? Was it a bad thing? Who was it a good thing for? Who was it a bad thing for? And I wrote a 250-word piece saying that, like most things, it's good and bad depending on who you are, depending on what your perspective is, depending on what you have to gain or lose. And I submit that assignment into Coursera. Once it's submitted, throughout that week, 5 other people review my assignment, and there's an assessment rubric that they're asked to grade and score on. How well did I argue it? Did I include references? Were the references well cited? Was it a clear logical argument? So they mark that, and whilst they're marking 5 other assignments, I'm also being asked to mark 5 other assignments. Once you've marked those assignments, you then have to go back and evaluate your original submission against the selection criteria. So it's quite interesting. So you type the assignment, you do your very best at it, obviously, and you submit it. And at that point where it's submitted, it's submitted. 5 other people review your assignment. I review 5 other people's. I then have to go back and review mine. So it's a really good, I guess what I'm getting on to saying is it's a really good reflective exercise to have an attempt at something, to then look at how other people have approached the same task and the same problem with the same questions and the same parameters, and then to be able to compare and contrast how well you felt you fared after you'd looked at your peers. And at the end of that week, and it happened yesterday, so the beginning of week 3 was technically the end of week 2, therefore we got to see each other's assignments, and you get some feedback and you get some scores back. So that was really interesting, and I particularly like, you know, the collaborative element, the social aspect to it, the peer-reviewed aspect to it, the ability for you to be able to get feedback from a number of people at scale, because there are tens of thousands of people undertaking that MOOC. Completely impractical, impossible for a fairly small group of facilitators to mark that. So it was really good to be able to see how a platform has enabled people to assess one another's using an interesting rubric. And I believe that my favourite learning management system, Tatara/Moodle, has that ability. In fact, I know it has that ability for people to submit assignments and then for other people to grade them and score them and assess them. So hopefully I'll get to some point in the future where I can actually try that out for real, that peer-reviewed assessment, all moving towards a final score within within a collaborative platform or a learning management system or some form of a learning platform. So again, just to reiterate, lots of interesting content this week, but for me, this week with the big takeaway was being able to see the assignment process from start to finish, and then the feedback that you get beyond that. So that's a fairly short Hangout this week. As I said, hopefully you're picking things up from these Hangouts. Hopefully it's adding some value and is perhaps filling any gaps that you've got in your perception as to what a MOOC is and how a MOOC can be undertaken. Thanks for watching.